Here we go, let's talk about some barrels. Hello friends, hello YouTube, how are you guys doing? Rainbow here with another Nerf mod video, and it's another upgrade video for the Gecko, and probably the most anticipated one, because today we're going to be talking about the barrels. Before we start, quick shout out, don't worry if things look differently, I'm kind of missing my banner in the back, but got a new shelf, because new machines, and so things had to shift around a little bit. I'm thinking of having it over here someplace, that would be good. But yeah, don't worry too much, but we're not here to talk about the shells. We're here to talk about the barrel. So this video is about the upgraded CNC machined Gecko barrels that are now available on my Etsy shop, all other shops, Facebook things and whatnot. So links are in the description and go check them out. First thing first, why do we have these? So you remember that look of the 10cm barrel. The reason the 10cm barrel came into play is because the 15cm was too much and it caused too much barrel drag, and therefore the inconsistencies within the FPS was really depending on the darts, and there's a lot of variation. So after a lot of testing between Adrian and I, the decision was made to recommend a 10cm barrel because it was performing a lot better. However, a lot more people, myself included, prefer this kind of look, which is the 15cm barrel. That's still my original blaster. It'll get all the upgrades, but right now it's as it is. And yeah, it just looks so much cooler to many of us. And so the 10cm barrel performed a lot better. The 15 looked a lot cooler. So far it's been a decision between looks, performance. So now the idea sort of started to come up with, like, can we like combine the two? Can we make a barrel that is effectively a 10cm barrel but looks like a 15? And the obvious answer is, yeah, sure, just sleeve it somehow or make it happen. So after a lot of thought and inspiration from other people, so there's been many other people involved in this process, the idea was to just take a 50-meter barrel and drill it out from the front so that the front section is wider, so it's effectively a 10cm barrel. So the idea was clear to me. I just couldn't see how I do it because I don't have the tools and I don't have the skills, which is why I reached out to my friend Raul from WurstWerfer, you might know him, and I'm so happy that he's on board and that we have this collaboration going because he's got the skills and he got the machines to make this happen. So I told him about my idea, send him all my materials and send him all the things, and then he went nuts. And shout out again, man, it's been amazing working with you on this, and I'm so happy that we do this. But now we've got CNC machined barrels. Starting off with this one. As you can see here, the front is polished because that's also the thing you're gonna see, because that part is still hidden in the blaster. And if you look in closely, you can see in there, there's a second ring. So this is the original idea. That is what I call 1510 plain barrel. So it's effectively a 10cm barrel, but it has the looks of a 15 barrel. This front section, however, has a lot wider inner diameter. So we're starting out with this, and that was the original idea. Tested it, prototyped it, and it's fantastic. But as it always is with creative people, it just, it's not just always the first try, and it doesn't stay at the original sort of plan. You might know what I'm talking about. And so as well, Raul threw in a bunch of ideas and some other things. So this is all the barrels and variations that we ended up having. I'm going to talk about them individually, one by one, so that you know what's going on and which one you want. But while we were experimenting with barrels and the possible designs and things that we could do with the CNC machine barrel, there was another German nerfer by the name of Leon, shout out, doing some amazing work on actually trying to figure out the best physical barrel length in total, because we went with the 10cm because overall, over the section of all springs, that seemed to be the best. And it's also, fairly straight cut, that 10cm, it's easy to measure and, just put in. But Leon went the extra mile and actually got some PVC pipe that he cut down like one ring at a time, tested his springs one ring at a time, and did all that and got a table of numbers. And thanks so much for that, because it's really amazing. And it turns out that actually 12 centimeters is better in most cases. So I'm saying in most cases because that will depend on your darts predominantly. But across all the spring, I've tested the 12 centimeter barrel as well with all the springs here that I have had to test. So all the springs I have in my shop are tested with the 12, and across all that, it increases the average performance by about 5 to 10 FPS if you use a 12 centimeter barrel instead of a 10. So why didn't we do this at the start? Honestly, we just didn't know. We went with the 10 because calculation suggested the 10. We tried the 10 and it worked fantastic. So after Leon's test, I then thought, okay, maybe look at the 12. So with the whole barrel design, we actually went to the 12 instead of the 10 as well. So now this ends up with a bunch of different barrel types, and if I throw numbers at you, I want you to understand what I mean. When I say 1510, it means it's 15 length, but 10 centimeter effective barrel. When I say 1512, it means 15 length, 12 centimeter effective barrel. So if you're looking for more performance in your blaster, definitely go 1512 instead of 1510. And just that's the thing. I have a bunch of 1510s because that was our prototype barrel. That was the first run that we've made. So they will be available until they sell out, and then they will only be available on request. The 1512 will be the standard. All right, so off we go. So from this being now a 1512, as a standard 1512 plane, this would then look exactly the same as here, just with a polished end up in the front. And so you got that look. To make this look even cooler, this is the 1512 air holes. And as you can see up in the front, it has these holes in there. And that is just style points. So it is the same barrel, so 15 centimeters. So the entire barrel will be hidden in the blaster until you actually prime it. And then you can see this fantastic looking barrel. And that's really, really cool. And shout out again to WurstWerfer, my friend Raul, for this amazing machine work. It's so clean and so crisp, and it's, you know, nice and smooth, and that's how you get them, and it's fantastic. It's so, so good. The next upgrade from there was, could we do something about the looks in general? So yes, here we go. This is the 1712 air holes. Compared to the 1512, you can see it's 2.5 centimeters longer. So the blaster will end right here. So this is the bit that sticks out the front, giving it this look. And I just love this. Like, I really, really do. I really like this. This is a fantastic design. And yes, I understand we're missing this. This is my test blaster, so don't judge it by its looks. It performs really nicely. So this sticks out 2.5 centimeters out of the blaster permanently. Yes, if you're not a fan of barrel bits sticking out the front of blasters, you might not like it, and that's totally fine. Then you can just go with this one, and it'll just sit in here. But if you like this kind of look, there you go. So from there, we went, okay, we got the 1510 to 1512, we got the air holes one, we got the 1712, fantastic. But obviously accuracy is something that matters. So we're thinking, how can we get a scar in there? And to be fair, I was actually thinking about a scar way before I thought machine barrels, when I was talking to Adrian about how could we change the catch housing to maybe integrate a scar in there somehow. Because Flatten and I do these resin printed scars with they're like really tiny. But with the machine barrel, it's a complete new world to me, and it opened up the option of having a scar integrated in the barrel. So introducing the 1512 scar barrel. So what this has in the front, you can see there's like holes and lines machined into the part, and then it is a 0.35 millimeter fishing wire that is been weaved through. I don't know if the focus will ever work.
Alright, so here you see
When I
the
try to
beautiful
show this
machine
up close,
scar barrels,
it doesn't.
and we've
Anyhow,
done our best
why is it?
to, like,
Can you focus,
you know,
please?
make the knots
So
disappear
this will
as well as
be
the string.
the looks
And
of
actually,
that.
like, if you turn this
I'm
sideways and
giving
you
up.
look
There
at
we
it,
go.
the string
That's
is
interesting
can't
focus.
focus.
So
There
in
we go.
there you
The string
have
is almost
the fishing
completely
wire, and when you look at it, it actually seems like it's really just a tiny bit, but it does work so brilliantly. Like, it is fantastic. It makes the Gecko so accurate. And of course, we had to do the 1712 scar barrel with the air holes. And shout out to Nerf for naming this one even before it was on the market. I told him about the idea, I showed him a picture of the prototype, and then he's just like, yep, the whole shebang. So that is it, and that's what it is named in the shop. So don't get confused when you read that name. That is everything barrel, everything in there. And yeah, this has been so cool. So I mentioned Leon, who did the work on the numbers. I mentioned Raul, who did the machining, but there's one more person involved in these barrels, because I don't know anything about scar barrels with fishing wire, really. Like, I've never really done strung up a scar barrel or whatnot. So I called on the one person that I know that knows everything about scar barrels from my perspective, and that is Sir Scorp, another German nerfer. I'm going to have his links in the description as well. Shout out to Scorp, you've been an amazing help on this, and he's actually the one that did the stringing of the prototypes. So as you can see here, there is the wire already in there, and then it's taped down so that it'll work with the Gecko. Thank you so much, Scorp, for helping out on this. So if you end up getting one of these barrels, it's actually a collaboration of 4 people. So it is me, it is Leon for the numbers, it is the machine part by Raul, and it's the string part by Sir Scorp. So collaboration, you know, across the German nerf scene, which is really amazing. Like, I'm really excited about this. So there's 2 more things to say here. Performance of the barrels, of all of the barrels in general. So the 1510 or the 1512, as I said, the 12 will be a little bit higher. But overall, the 15 and the 17 machine barrels, what they do is, interestingly enough, the average is around about the same or a little bit higher, but the variance, depending on the darts, will again go up a bit. And the theory behind this is that, yeah, it's again a longer barrel, so a dart can actually, when it leaves the narrow part of the barrel and just like the show part of the barrel, it can actually hit the wall there and, you know, be affected slightly. But interestingly enough, from all the testings that I've done over the last couple of weeks, and this is, by the way, this is why this took so long to be out there. They've been teased weeks ago, but I wanted to be thorough with the testing. And so from what I can say is the overall FPS is the same or just a little bit up if you go for the 12. With the 17 barrel, the 1712 performs about the same as a 10 centimeter barrel or just a little bit higher, and that will depend on your darts, because in my testing I've been using like 7 different dart types, and it really depends on the darts if it's just the same or if it's a little bit higher. The Scar barrel has maybe an FPS drop, I got the numbers here, overall maybe an FPS drop of 5 to 10 max. In all honesty, I noticed about 5 FPS average, but the variance becomes smaller again. And my theory is because the Scar actually keeps the dart in the middle, it's not as likely to hit the outer wall, and therefore, yeah, it actually overall performs better. I'm a huge fan of the Scar barrel, and not just because of that, but because what it actually does to the blaster. So now, because, you know, I can say anything here, you guys can see for yourself. I have run a test with this blaster without the Scar barrel and with the Scar barrel with 2 different springs across my hallway, shooting at the targets. You will see all the numbers. To be fair, I didn't want to go all 7 springs that I have, so I went with the weakest one, and that is the RMP4, so that's the baby spring, you know, around about 80-85 FPS, which is really nice for indoor little things, toy grade spring. And one of the stronger ones, and because I had no RMP9 at the time of the test, I went with the Worker 12 kg and the Spacer. So it's the most I want to put in there apart from the RMP9. And so I had one on the low end of the power spectrum, one on the high end of the power spectrum. So I thought that will give me quite an edge of how everything performs in terms of the SCAR. We'll talk about SCAR and installation after this shooting demonstration. Enjoy!
You see the target over there is a box. It's an A4 size target. And from here where I'm holding the Gecko, this is exactly 8 meters away. That's all I have in my hallway. We're using the 1712 standard barrel, so not the 1712 standard, not the SCAR barrel. First magazine is 10 ACK darts. And yes, I've done this several times, so I'm very confident that I can actually hit it if it goes straight. And to answer the questions, I am actually using this iron sight, looking through the Rainbow Mohawk and over the front here to aim down the range. So let's see out of 10 how many times I can actually hit into the box, and then we go from there. One more. All right, so that's 2 out of 10, a couple of frames. So next up, we've got a magazine of Worker Gen 2s, because I have them. I don't like to use them in this setup, but you know, just for science. That was the same spot. I'm actually very impressed. I believe that was 4 or 5 out of 10. Next up, we get the Worker Gen 3s, 10 darts of those as well. That's 5 of 10 on the Worker Gen 3s. All right, next up, we've got the Adventure Force Pro Darts, 10 out of as well. Let's go. One last one. All right, that's 3 out of 10. A couple of frame hits again. So I went ahead just for fun and swapped to the other side of the spectrum in terms of springs. As you can see, like it's really tiny. It's the RMP for the baby spring, you know, averaging around 80 to 85 FPS. Same setup with the barrel though and everything, starting with the AC3. Whoop, that must have been a broken dart. And it was the last one. No, right. Next up, Worker Gen 2, RMP4 spring. That is pretty damn accurate. So that's 4 in, and a couple of frame hits and 1 wonky dart. Next up, Worker Gen 3. That was it. All right, so that was 2 out of 10, I believe. And last but not least, Adventure Force Pro. What I noticed with these, they actually have some trouble with like those low powered springs because they have a little, slightly of a different diameter. Well, let's see how we go. 1, nice. That's what I meant. All right, you can see the little bit of a wonky performance that I was saying. It's like, it's worn darts. If you're wondering, I've been using those darts for, you know, pretty much all my testing. I've got a bin of like 50 darts a piece and I just rotate through those. And yeah, so at the moment the Adventure Force are squished too much, like in this setup with the low power spring. They tend to underperform. But overall, you know, once it's shot, they're both fairly straight. I think it's 2 out of 10. Alright, so next up, the moment you've all been waiting for, the SCAR barrel test. So the barrel here is the whole shebang, named to by Sea Nerf. So first off, AC3s as always. Same idea, same aiming principle. Right, so that was 2 or 3 out of 10. Next up, Worker Gen 2. Whoops. Apart from one bad dart, I think that was amazing. That was 6, 7 out of 10. Up next, Worker Gen 3. Still on the IMP4 spring. Alright, last but not least, the Adventure Force Pro. I found in all this testing that I've been doing that the Adventure Force Pro darts are a weird one with the really low velocity numbers, and as well as the springs for that. They're either too worn or not worn enough. Yeah, it's hard to come by a couple of good ones. Let's see how we go. This is going to be my final take. See, that's one got stuck. Let's try this. So what do we learn from this? The Adventure Force Pro darts really don't like low power springs, which is understandable given that they're made for twice the spring power that they actually get from this one, from this setup of that particular spring, but it is the baby spring for a reason. All right, so swap back to the Worker 12 kg, as you can see in there, already primed. And first off, we're gonna go with the AC3. I'm really intrigued because they were really all over the shop without the SCAR. Let's see how they do with it. All right. Every single dart except one hit the box, and I think it was 5 or 6 in. I gotta double check and do numbers up here. But yeah, that is impressive. All right, next up, got the worker Gen 2s. They were pretty impressive without the scar. Let's see how they do with the scar. And that was it. And I think 1 or 2 frame hits. Everything else is in, even though 2 were not in the target zone and actually entered through the bottom. But yeah, that is pretty impressive. And up next, worker Gen 3. One more. That had to happen on the last one. God, these are straight. That is fantastic. So last but not least, Adventure Force Pro. These are the same darts that I was shooting with the RMP4 earlier. So just so you have a comparison how they perform with a proper spring load. Let's see how accurate they are. That was it.
So as you can see, the scar barrels really work, and they actually really great. This is why I'm so excited about this. I wanted to do this testing, and when I finally got all the numbers, I was like, yes, the theory worked, the execution is good. So I'm really happy to present this product to you. There's only 2 more things that you need to know about the scar barrel. So number 1, if you want to order them and string them yourself, I recommend using a 0.35mm fishing wire, and when you've done that, put some tape over the top. So this is some Scotch tape over here, and ideally if you have a bigger roll of Scotch tape, tape it all the way till here, so the 3D printed part will never actually go off the tape. If you don't use a tape, even if you have your knots really solid and nicely in, you know, those crevices that we made especially for them, the ends of the string will stick out and you will have some trouble of that hitting the blaster and eventually getting caught, either opening or loosening the scar, or just sort of, you know, affecting the movement of the barrel, which is why I recommend doing this with the tape. If you order a pre-strung scar barrel, be aware that there's 3 people involved in the process, which is why they're more pricey and they take longer to complete, because they have to be sent to all the people to complete them, and yeah, that's the main reason. There's one more thing you need to know either way, and one more thing you actually need to do either way. The scar barrels will not work with the original catch housing. We've tried to make this happen, but we can't physically make these crevices and holes any deeper without losing the structural integrity of the material. And so here is an original housing, and as you can see, if I insert that from here, it will then get caught right there. And it's not the tape that gets caught, it's the actual knots. But thankfully that was a quite easy fix. I've just designed a new catch housing, which is this, and as you can see in here, it's absolutely no trouble. If you compare these 2 side by side, you'll see that the hole in this one is quite a lot bigger. It's just to leave enough room, so if you put these on top of each other, you'll actually see the difference quite, there we go, You see there's quite a difference. It's I think 0.7 millimeters on either side or something. But yes, there's obviously an adjusted version of the front as well as an adjusted version of the back. These files, if you want to print them, these files are available on my Thingiverse. So I've talked to Adrian about this and he was alright with it that I just, you know, have these files out there. So the files for these catch housings will be on my Thingiverse. So a link to that is in the description. So if you already have a blaster and you want to just reprint this and, you know, get yourself a barrel, then you can just, you know, do that. However, if you just want them with your scar barrel in a certain color, that can be arranged as well. And as you can see here, like that's also the upgraded front in here. It just runs over there nice and easy. And this has been the piece that I've been using for all my testing with just a little bit of Scotch tape on here. Over here, I can sort of see, I don't know if I can show, I can sort of see like a little scratch mark on the tape. But as I said, that can be fixed by just having like a long line of tape going all the back into here, so this never actually leaves the tape. And yes, I know we're talking about taping onto an otherwise really nice polished aluminum barrel that looks really, really cool and shiny. But when you look at the performance results, I think we can turn a blind eye to that because I think it's just worth it. I'm definitely going to do this to my personal Gecko. To sum it all up, we've got plenty of new barrels, so, you know, take a look at the shop. If you're not sure which one to get, you can always reach out. I'm going to link this video. I hope this explains everything. So the basic is the plain, the 1512 plain. The 1510 will be available as long as, you know, they are gone. We have the 1512 with the air holes, and then we have the 1712. We could do a 1712 plain if you really want to, if you're not a fan of the air holes. I'll leave that out there as an option. But other than that, it's the 1712 with the holes, and then it's the 1512 scar or the 1712 scar and holds the whole shebang. Thank you, Siadnerv. So that's it. That's the barrel upgrade. That's the big thing. By the way, thanks for watching this video. You know, if you're still here and you like the content, make sure the sub and like and subscribe and all that. That would mean the world to me. There's going to be more Gecko content. Like right now, I'm having stuff laying here for at least 2 more videos. So stay tuned. There is more upgrades. Check out my Etsy shop. Some of them are already live that I haven't talked about just because, you know, time. So thanks very much for watching. Thanks very much for being subscribed. Shout out to my patrons. You guys mean the world to me. And so if you want to support me and what I do, because I do this for a living, you know, go check out my Patreon if you want. Other than that, happy modding, happy nerfing, love and sunshine. There was a dart in there. Ouch. Shit. I'm an idiot. All right. Other than that, yeah, happy modding, happy nerfing. Oh, that was perfect. Other than that, happy modding, happy nerfing. Oh, God. Other than that, happy modding, happy nerfing, and yeah, thank you for watching. God.